What up, everybody? It's your boy. This is the King Beats Show, King Truth Show. Sorry, and I'm looking forward to this. I just want to show you guys. Last night, our Vice President nominee, Kamala Harris, she gave a speech at the DNC. So I want to go ahead and kind of give you some playback on that. And the very first part, she just kind of is talking about. Well, let's go ahead. Let's just go to the video. We'll watch some and then I'll comment along the way. And this is from NBC News. And this is just going to be commentary as I break down the many things that she says. Some good, some bad. I'm going to point out the lies that she tells because it's really disheartening. I think in this country, we should be able to have debate without lying to each other. So it's funny because people say, oh, Trump's told a million lies. And these same people, it's these people are literally telling lies. And Trump, hey, if he lies, we'll call him to task on that too. But there is a difference between saying I had the biggest event ever. It wasn't really the biggest event ever. Hyperbole, bloviation, those types of things. He does those things, and everybody does those things. If Kamala says she had the greatest mom in the world, I'm not going to say that that's a lie. That's not a lie. It's like an opinion. So I'm not going to get into that kind of petty shit, but I do want to have this discussion so that people can watch and learn. So let's go ahead. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring Kamala on the screen here. Here we go. All right. And let's let her rip.
And that's my mother, Shamala Gopalan Harris.
She's talking about, I did skip a little bit because she just thanks everybody. And then she goes into, she's been on the shoulders of other people, great mom, great women and men, but she only names women. No big surprise there. She names a bunch of women of color who have been, in places before her. And that's all good. I mean, at the end of the day, there's definitely trailblazers, and those trailblazers deserve respect.
At age 19 to pursue her dream of curing cancer. At the University of California, Berkeley, she met my father, Donald Harris, who had come from Jamaica to study economics. They fell in love in that most American way while marching together for justice in the civil rights movement of the 1960s. In the streets of Oakland and Berkeley, I got a stroller's eye view of people getting into what the great John Lewis called good trouble. When I was 5, my parents split, and my mother raised us mostly on her own.
Now let's go ahead and talk about this real quick. I don't know her personal story, so all I want to point out is that both her parents were doctors and a doctor and a professor. And so when she says she raised them alone, I'm seriously doubting that she didn't get substantial financial help because both these people were very well off. There was no financial struggle here, which typically when people are divorced, yes, there's other issues, but one of the primary issues is financial strain from either a deadbeat dad or a mom that takes their kid away from the dad and then is trying to do it all on her own. Finances are the biggest struggle there. You notice she won't say that financially. She will bring up that some other things that we'll get to in a second, but there wasn't a lot of financial strain here unless they were living way above their means because they both made substantial incomes, her mother and her father. Let's go.
Like so many mothers, she worked around the clock to make it work, packing lunches before we woke up and paying bills after we went to bed, helping us with homework at the kitchen table and shuttling us to church for choir practice. She made it look easy, though it never was. My mother instilled in my sister Mike.
Let me just say something on that real quick. That's what most parents do. Like, if you don't have a parent that does that, your parent is a donkey. So I'm glad this is awesome. I'm glad that Kamala has a great mom. I think later on in the story, she says her mom passed away. Her mom sounds like a wonderful woman. And I think that's excellent. So I'm proud of her mom. Good job to her mom, whatever you want to say. But that is what what parents do, because parents love their children. So good for her mom.
And me, the values that would chart the course of our lives. She raised us to be proud, strong Black women. And she raised us.
Why didn't she just raise you to be strong women? Why didn't she just raise you to be good people? Like a strong, so your Indian mom taught you to be a strong Black woman. It just, look, when you start always trying to point to color for everything, you just come up saying silly things. Your mom didn't raise you to be a strong Black woman. She's not even a strong, that'd be like me raising my child to be a strong Hispanic male. What? I can just teach him to be a strong man. I want him to be a good man. I just think that's ridiculous to always point to race, but let's go.
Us to know and be proud of our Indian heritage. She taught us to put family first, the family you're born into and the family you choose. Family is my husband, Doug, who I met on a blind date set up by my best friend. Family is our beautiful children, Cole and Ella, who call me KAMALA. Family is my sister. Family is my best friend, my nieces, and my godchildren. Family is my uncles, my aunts, and my chitties. Family is Mrs. Shelton, my second mother who lived 2 doors down and helped raise me. Family is my beloved Alpha Kappa Alpha, our Divine Nine, and my HBCU brothers and sisters.
So if your family was the HBCU brothers and sisters, how come when Barack Obama defunded them, you didn't say anything? Why? Why did you not call to task the Biden-Obama administration that took the funding away, literally defunded? You want to defund the police? They defunded HBCUs for a year. They did. And then they made it a requirement that the HBCUs continued to come and ask for funding every year instead of having permanent funding. But that's your family. You expect, I hope people watch this, maybe they didn't know this, but the Biden-Obama administration was terrible towards HBCUs. Trump has been much, much better. But yet Kamala Harris has never said anything positive about Trump and what he's done with HBCUs. But those are her brothers and sisters. That is her family. Let me tell you something. I have brothers and sisters, and I have children. And if somebody all of a sudden started defunding my children or started defunding my brothers and sisters, I would have something to say about it. So I'm just going to go ahead and call woo BS on that.
Family is the friends I turn to when my mother, the most and compassionate about the struggles of all people, to believe public service is a noble cause and the fight for justice is a shared responsibility.
I agree.
That led me to become a lawyer,
I don't agree with that being the path, but go ahead.
a district attorney, attorney general, and a United States senator. And at every step of the way, I've been guided by the words I spoke from the first time I stood in a courtroom. Kamala Harris, for the people.
So the first time she was in a courtroom, did you hear what she just said? The first words I spoke when I was in a courtroom was Kamala Harris, for the people. That's the first thing you said in the courtroom? Like, what situation led you to say that first? But go ahead.
I have fought for children and survivors of sexual assault. I fought against transnational criminal organizations. I took on the biggest banks and helped take down one of the biggest for-profit colleges. I know a predator when I see one.
I wish she would have went into that real quick. She knows a predator when she sees one. Is she saying Donald Trump's a predator? Is she saying that Biden's not a predator? I would love her to describe what a predator is when you see one. And the reason why I want that to happen is because isn't that what so much of police brutality and issues with police are? They believe they can see a predator. They might think that predator wears a hoodie. They might think that predator's black. They might think that predator has tattoos. They might think that that predator is somebody who is overbearingly big. They may think that predator is a person with pink dyed hair and a ponytail with combat boots on. I would love to know what this predator is when she sees one, because I have a feeling it would come off very biased. Let's go. Pause for effect. That was not my lag. That was her waiting about 4 seconds to try to really, I guess she was waiting on applause from the speechwriter, I guess.
My mother taught me that service to others gives life purpose and meaning.
I completely agree. If you're ever feeling down, do service. Service does give your life meaning. No question about it. We should all do service. But remember, service is not being forced to do service. Doing service, the whole act of doing service is you doing it because you're not required to do it.
And oh, how I wish she were here tonight, but I know she's looking down on me from above. I keep thinking about that 25-year-old Indian woman, all of 5 feet tall, who gave birth to me at Kaiser Hospital in Oakland, California. On that day, she probably could have never imagined that I would be standing before you now and speaking these words. I accept your nomination for Vice President of the United States of America. I do so committed to the values she taught me, to the word that teaches me to walk by faith and not by sight, and to a vision passed on through generations of Americans, one that Joe Biden shares, a vision of our nation as a beloved community where all are welcome, no matter what we look like, no matter where we come from or who we love. A country where we may not agree on every detail, but we are united by the fundamental belief that every human being is of infinite worth, deserving of compassion, dignity, and respect.
Everyone that I know believes this. So I just want to make sure she's going to do a pivot here, but she's just saying a bunch of things that we all do. Of course, everybody deserves empathy. Of course, everybody deserves compassion. Everybody deserves to be loved. Everybody is of infinite worth. Anyone, especially from the right, who tend to believe in God and believe primarily in Jesus Christ, but other gods as well, if you're Hindu or Jewish or, but the belief, or Muslim, if there is a God, okay, then, and he created us in his image, then clearly we are all of infinite worth. So I'm glad she said all this, and I believe all this. But I think she's going to pivot to somehow there's a section that doesn't believe this. No, all of us believe this. We just disagree with the tactics of how to get there, how to accomplish that.
A country where we look out for one another, where we rise and fall as one.
And we do. We do. I'm not going to say all the things that I see, but I see people doing kind things for other people on a regular basis.
Where we face our challenges and celebrate our triumphs together. Today, that country feels distant. Donald Trump's...
No. It feels distant because the media is always attacking Donald Trump, and then Donald Trump is always responding in kind. But let's go.
Failure of leadership has cost lives and livelihoods. If you're a parent struggling with your child's remote learning, or you're a teacher struggling on the other side of that screen, you know what we're doing right now is not working.
Okay, so I'm just going to point out her lie real quick. Ready? So here she says, what we're doing is not working, right? So let's go ahead and take a couple look at things. Ready? Here's our nation's death rates at COVID. Okay. Yes, it's starting to, it had a little second bump right here. Okay. But when you look at our death rate is 5 times lower than Italy, 5 times lower than France. I mean, the list goes on and on. Again, we can actually look at that. Okay. Out of the major countries, we're not doing awesome, but our country is very spread out. So if you look at it, let's go to countries real quick. Countries. Okay. And then you go deaths per million. Okay. Doing better than Spain, UK, Italy, Sweden, Chile. Okay. France, in terms of death rate, right? If you look at death rate, we're doing better than even more. That's deaths per million. If we go deaths per cases, which they don't have on this sheet, you can find it real quickly. We're doing way better than Brazil. We're doing way better than France. We're doing way better than Mexico. We're doing way better than, let's find another main country here. Way better than Ireland, way better than the Netherlands. Okay, this is 10% deaths over 10% cases. We're at 3%. Our percentage rate is one of the best in the entire world. Our deaths per million is right in the same bunch as most of your other main countries. Okay, except for the ones that are dishonest and don't have a bunch of, I mean, obviously, the Dominican Republic, Guatemala, Argentina, Bermuda. Bermuda probably has accurate numbers, but they have such a small amount of people. Let's go to something else. So as a nation, we're not doing terrible. Our deaths per case rate is one of the best. Again, it's not on this chart. It's one of the best in the entire world. Okay. And then we're also right in the mix when it's death per million. Okay. You got to look at our population. Let's look at the states. Okay. Because Joe Biden's plan, okay, I think this is very important. Joe Biden's plan and what Kamala Harris want to do is they want to shut down. She is literally talking about parents who are struggling with their kids at staying at home. And she's about to talk about the teachers are struggling as well. Well, yes, why are you shutting these places down? Let's look at all the Northeastern, or at least, out of our top 15, biggest state, the largest populated states in the Northeast. Let's look through them and see how they're doing. Okay, the places that the pandemic went through first. Okay, let's look at Pennsylvania. Ready? Look how low it is, but they still want to keep your kids home from school. Maryland, look how low it is. All at-home learning. Good job, Governor Hogan. Epic fail. Let's go to New York. Wow, lowest it's been. Massachusetts, what? Low. Okay. New Jersey, up. Low. All these places should have their kids in school. No question about it. No question about it. These are all the places it hit first. These are all the places it spiked in May. And guess what? At these points that it spiked, all of them across the board were shut down during that period of time. And not shut down like in the middle of it, shut down like here, and then this happened. Okay, we shut down and then it blew up and got contagious because everybody was in the house together. Okay, then you look at Ohio, it's pretty much stayed low the whole time. So why would Ohio not be on the school? I don't know if they are or not, but according to Biden, he wants to shut that down. Really? Now let's look at the places, because I'm not a liar. So let's look at the places that aren't doing very well right now. Well, notice, back here, they weren't doing so poorly. They weren't. First of all, let's remember the fact that California has twice as many people as New York. Twice as many. Their average rate of death was less than 100 people a day, when New York's was over 1,000, or right about 1,000 a day. Okay, so their number, it hadn't got there. Now it's spiking. They still seem to have it under control. Doesn't seem like any huge spikes here. And it was way more in New York. Okay, way more, 1,000 cases a day. All right, Florida, this is a big spike. Okay, big spike here. But again, look where it was back then. It hadn't got there yet. That's how viruses work. So why Arizona looks like it's on an uptick, even though it looks like it's dropping down now over the last month. Okay, North Carolina pretty much stayed even. Looked like it's a little bit of an uptick. Georgia, again, stayed low during the beginning of the time and still has ticked up, dropped back down a little bit. It's a little bit of an uptick. I wouldn't call it certainly didn't skyrocket. Okay. So when Kamala Harris says that she's talking to the parents and that kind of stuff, she is lying to you. Okay. What she is trying to say is that it's Donald Trump's fault everything's still shut down. It's not. It is these Democrats lying to you about where we are in this pandemic. They want to shut everything down. They want mandatory across the board. Everybody does everything the way that they want it to be done. And that's foolishness. Clearly, the governors are the ones that had these things happen this way. New York lost as many lives as California with half the amount of people. New York was a train wreck, and that idiot came out and spoke, and we'll do his too. But she is lying right now, and she knows she's lying.
And we are a nation that is grieving the loss of life, the loss of jobs, the loss of opportunities, the loss of normalcy.
For sure.
And yes, the loss of certainty.
First of all, we never have certainty. So I think that's one of the key differences between Democrats and Republicans. Certainty. What kind of control freak are you to say that we're missing our certainty? I'm sorry, but God, people better realize in life, there are very few certain things. You are going to be born and you are going to die. Nothing else in there is certain. So you better prepare accordingly because life is not fair and it's not certain. Carry on.
And while this virus touches us all, we got to be honest. It is not an equal opportunity offender. Black, Latino, and Indigenous people are suffering and dying disproportionately. And this is not a coincidence. It is the effect of structural racism.
No, sorry. Coronavirus did not go down the street and go, black people, Indian person, Hispanic person, white person, no big deal. Okay? It didn't happen like that. Now, we can argue over why that number is. Those numbers, the numbers are real. It is affecting black people worse for multiple of reasons. One, lower income people are fed like crap from their parents. The food stamps are a train wreck. You can buy 50 bags of Doritos and 50 cans of soda as your food stamp money, with your food stamp money. And it happens. If you want to try to defend yourself and say, well, that's not what it's really like, bullshit. Bullshit. Go stand in the grocery store and just stand close enough and just watch. Just sit there. Because I've had a black friend of mine that worked at the grocery store, used to laugh about it because he would just see people in line and be like, yep, I knew it. Because it was nothing but sodas and pizza and garbage. And it's not to say you can't have a soda or can't eat pizza or can't eat chips. But the reality is the government is paying for your food. They should get you healthier things that actually fill you up. So even though it might be more expensive, it won't cost the government anymore because you'll eat less trash. And then also there's some cultures in the South. A lot of people, especially black people, are the best at making barbecue. It just is what it is. And so a lot of barbecue, grits, a bunch of things that are not healthy foods are in the communities. Okay. And so you have hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes, all these things prevalent in those communities. It's not because they don't have access to health care. That is just not true. It is not true. It is people's decisions. Like, eating that stuff is not going to be good for you. And then, you could go back to the stress that they endured a long time ago that has made it genetically, the evolution of that has not been good for them. Okay. And again, when you eat and you're poor, the food is not as good in terms of for you. And so people don't have those education systems that explain those types of things, to make sure people are eating correctly. It is very deep, but racism has almost nothing to do with it. Nobody is sitting around right now wanting to feed a certain group of people, Black or Hispanic, terrible foods trying to kill them. That's what racism does. Okay?
Of inequities in education and technology, healthcare and housing, job security and transportation. The injustice in reproductive and maternal health care.
Abortions. Abortions are the reason why people are dying of COVID-19. Boy, I've seen it all. I've seen it all.
In the excessive use of force by police and in our broader criminal justice system.
That's why COVID-19 is killing people. So don't forget, she's still talking about the virus. The virus is hurting people because of police brutality. What in the good Lord are you talking about? What are you talking about?
It has no eyes.
It has no eyes, but it can find race. Where that racism at? Oh, Black. Ooh, that's a Black person. You got a virus. Come on, man.
And yet it knows exactly how we see each other and how we treat each other.
On the vast majority, look, I have an agreement point with her. We do treat each other oftentimes poorly. It has nothing to do with race. It really doesn't. People are assholes because they're jerks. Like, that's just the way it, like, she's rude to Donald Trump, not because he's white. Well, I certainly hope not. Okay? I mean, people can be rude to each other, but if they agreed with you, right? Like, she's going to get along with Biden. Why? Because they agree. Why does she not get along with Trump? Not because she's Black. Trump will get along with Candace Owens. She's Black. It has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with people's mentality around being on a certain team. And to get their team bigger, they need to convince people, minorities, people of color, that they are hated. And then they put it in their head, and then they go to the store, and then the person sees a white person acting rude to them and feels like, well, they don't know me. They're being mean to me because of the color of my skin. No, they're just the asshole. Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe their mom died. There's a plethora of things. But I know a lot of people, and I've lived in about 5-6 different states, and I've never had someone pull me aside and just start ripping on some Black person or some Hispanic person based on the color of their skin because they're a racist. I'm not saying racism doesn't exist. I'm saying that you're talking about 0.5% of the population and acting like that's why people don't get along in this country. And that's not true. People don't get along because we differ on the methods. And then one side saying, you guys are stupid, you just don't get it. And the other side saying, you guys hate us if you disagree with us. Both those are very flawed strategies.
Let's be clear. There is no vaccine for racism. We've got to do the work.
There is no work towards racism. Racism is thinking that your race is better than somebody else's. That comes from up in here. Up in here. Hate. Hate can only be worked on by being kind to one another. That's it. There's no policy you can put into place to change hate. None.
For George Floyd, for Breonna Taylor, for the lives of too many others to name.
So I noticed she didn't put Tony Timpa in here. Why? Because white lives don't matter to her. They don't. She said Breonna Taylor. She said George Floyd. She wants the punchline. She knows if she says Tony Timpa, most people wouldn't know who he was. But he died just like George Floyd did. Same way. Same way. Very little coverage and nobody gives a damn. Why? Because he's white. Every white person I know agrees George Floyd should not have died. Should not have been killed by a police officer putting his knee on his neck while he was coming down off of drugs. Nobody agrees with that police officer. Nobody. Tony Timpa's police officers are still out there. None of them facing any justice, and nobody cares because they're white. That's all it is. It only has to do with trying to pander to get black people enraged and in their feelings so that they can have them vote for it. It's sad.
For our children and for all of us. We've got to do the work to fulfill that promise of equal justice under law.
All the laws
because
say
here's
that.
The thing, none of us are free until all of us are free.
Of course. Like fathers.
So we're at an
when are
inflection
fathers
point.
going to be freed?
The constant chaos leaves us adrift. The incompetence makes us feel afraid. The callousness makes us feel alone. It's a lot. And here's the thing. We can do better and deserve so much more. We must elect a president who will bring something different, something better.
Did she just say something different? Joe Biden has been in Congress, I want to say 44 years. He was the vice president for 8 years. He's going to bring something different? Didn't he have a chance to bring something different? Every issue she brings up, you can stem back to 8 years ago, to 3 years ago. Like systemic racism? Clown, you are in the Senate. That dude jumped, and I'll give you a pass, Kamala, because you were only in there for the last 2 years and you've been campaigning the whole time. So you didn't really want to be in the Senate, okay? You wanted to run for president, which is cool, no problem there. But Biden has been running for president, been in the Senate, running for president, been in the Senate, running for president, vice president, running for president, and he never fixed anything in regards to systemic racism. He actually created more policies like the 3-strike law to encourage more systemic racism. But this guy is going to solve the problem. Like, she knows this because she was a district attorney, state's attorney, attorney general. So she knows this. She's literally just pandering bullcrap.
And do the important work. A president who will bring all of us together. Black, white, Latino, Asian.
Did he bring black guys together if their 3rd strike was a dime bag of weed? I don't think so. I think he tore those black families apart.
Indigenous, to achieve the future we collectively want. We must elect Joe Biden. And I will tell you, I knew Joe as vice president. I knew Joe together to win back billions of dollars.
So she talks about her and Beau Biden.
Every night with the sound of his voice, reading bedtime stories. And while they endured an unspeakable loss, those 2 little boys always knew that they were deeply, unconditionally loved. And what also moved me about Joe is the work that he did as he was going back and forth. This is the leader who wrote the Violence Against Women Act and enacted the assault weapons ban,
which the assault weapons ban, go ahead and look that up if you would. It had 0 effect. So you can look that up. Had 0 effect.
As vice president, implemented the Recovery Act which brought our country back from the Great Recessions. He championed the Affordable Care Act, protecting millions of Americans with pre-existing conditions, who spent decades.
Everyone is for pre-existing conditions. Donald Trump even came out and said that no matter what, he's going to cover pre-existing conditions.
Promoting American values and interests around the world. Joe, he believes we stand with our allies and stand up to our adversaries. Right now, we have a president who turns our tragedies into political weapons. Joe will be a president who turns our challenges into purpose. Joe will bring us together to build an economy that doesn't leave anyone behind.
Well, then why was it leaving people behind? Why were wages stagnant? After 8 years after 6 years to get it fixed, after the first 2 years, they let it get worse than it had to get. They did inherit a crappy situation. So then it was the slowest recovery in the history of America. What do you mean? Now they're not going to let people behind? I want opportunities for people to be able to thrive, which does mean that some people will be left behind. It's kind of like if everybody's going to the gym, you can't force everyone to work out. So people are going to be left behind if people are putting in that work every day and other people aren't. Sorry, that's just the reality.
Where a good paying job is the floor, not the ceiling. Joe will bring us together to end this pandemic and make sure that we are prepared for the next one. Joe will bring us together to squarely face and dismantle racial injustice, furthering the work of generations. Joe and I believe that we can build that beloved community, one that is strong and decent, just and kind, one in which we can all see ourselves. That's the vision that our parents and grandparents fought for. The vision that made my own life possible. We will speak truths and we will act with the same faith in you that we ask you to place in us. We believe that our country, all of us, will stand together for a better future.
Biden said that 25% of us are just bad people, but okay, I guess now they want to stand with us. They called Trump supporters, a bunch of different names. So I don't know. I guess now they want us on their side.
And we already are. We see it in the doctors, the nurses, the home health care workers, and frontline workers who are risking their lives to save people they've never met. We see it in the teachers and truck drivers, the factory workers and farmers, the postal workers and poll workers, all putting their own safety on the line to help us get through this pandemic. And we see it in so many of you who are working, not just to get us through our current crisis, but to somewhere better. There's something happening all across our country. It's not about Joe or me. It's about you. And it's about us. People of all ages and colors and creeds who are, yes, taken to the streets, and also persuading our family members, rallying our friends, organizing our neighbors, and getting out the vote. And we have shown that when we vote, we expand access to health care and expand access to the ballot box and ensure that more working families can make a decent living. And I'm so inspired by a new generation. You are pushing us to realize the ideals of our nation, pushing us to live the values we share: decency and fairness, justice and love. You are patriots who remind us that to love our country is to fight for the ideals of our country. In this election, we have a chance to change the course of history. We're all in this fight. You, me, and Joe, together.
That's my team. I'm going to fight with Joe.
What an awesome responsibility. What an awesome privilege. So let's fight with conviction. Let's fight with hope. Let's fight with confidence in ourselves and a commitment to each other, to the America we know is possible, the America we love. And years from now, this moment will have passed, and our children and our grandchildren will look in our eyes, and they're going to ask us, where were you when the stakes were so high? They will ask us, what was it like? And we will tell them.
So if this is true, you know how many times I've looked in my parents' eyes and asked them, where were you in 1980? Who did you vote for in 1980, 1984, 1988? Where were you at when who the hell knows was going against who the hell knows? Let me guess. This is the most important election of our lifetime. It's always the most important election of your lifetime. Always. It's never like, this is one more election. Don't worry about it. Like, she's working it up here, boys. She's selling it. But sorry, your kids are never going to ask you who you voted for in 2020.
We will tell them not just how we felt. We will tell them what we did. Thank you. God bless you.
I made fun of them on YouTube.
The United States of America.
All right. That's it. That's all I got for you today. I'm going to do that for a couple more candidates. I do it on the Republican side too and hold them to task. Got to tell the truth. Always got to tell the truth. And I get it. They're politicians, so they're going to lie about certain things and make things seem like there's certain ways they're not. Most people in this country are good people, the vast majority of them. And they're not good or bad depending on whether or not they are Democrat or Republican, whether they like Trump or don't like Trump. There's no virtue there. The virtue is what actions you take. Do you try to help people? Do you love one another? Do you try to lift people up? The difference is in strategy. I don't believe you should be forced to lift people up. I don't think that's virtuous. I think having to lift people up, and that comes from a core belief that people are good. Because since I believe that people at their core, the vast majority are good people, I believe that if you give people the opportunity to help others, they will. And if they won't, then we need to fix our society. And not going to fix them by forcing them to do something. We have to explain why doing good is better than doing bad, why being kind is better than being an ass, why being patient is better than being aggressive. And those types of things we can do because we're the United States of America. And then diversity is not our strength. Our strength is stronger because we have diversity. There's a difference there, okay? Because the greatest coach in the NFL, in my opinion, now, I mean, we'll see. But if a player, the greatest basketball player on earth was Michael Jordan, in my opinion, right? He's not greater because he's black. He's great, and he is black, which shows that you can be great and be any color. You can be great and be any color, any race, any sexuality. It doesn't matter. That's what makes you great. Not the fact that you are one of those things. Me being white doesn't make me better. I'm just white. The two women that got hired by the Miami Dolphins last week, somebody put a post out or a Twitter feed that said, that shows that our coaches are for diversity. What? I hope not. I hope not. I don't hope they're against diversity, but I certainly hope they didn't hire them for diversity. I hope they hired them because they're the greatest coaches or scouts that can be out there. And what an amazing story it is that the two best scouts are women and that they were hired. That's awesome. That's awesome because they're great scouts. That's not awesome because they're women and then they got hired and we'll see how they do. No. It's a great story. Let them succeed. And then let's talk about how wonderful it is that women are scouts of the NFL and there's never been one that played there and they're doing great. There's coaches that have never played in the NFL and they're doing great. Okay? It's just a fundamental difference. I hire the best. I partner up my businesses with the best people. My business partners are black. But I partnered with the best people who happen to be black. I didn't go, let me find a black person. Hey, you want a business partner up? I hope they're good, but I did it because I'm not racist. It's the wrong answer. It's the wrong answer. I coach with far more black people than I do white people. Not because they're black, because they're great people, because they're great coaches. That's why. That's how we become a better country. When we love and judge people on the content of their character. I didn't come up with that. Okay? Content of their character. And then you'll see how many different races of people there are. They'll all be in your group because you're judging off character and there is no demographic character based on color. Come on, people. Good luck. Love you guys. Have a great day.